Houston, we have ignition.
Yeah, man. Taco socks.
Taco socks.
We're good to go, dude. All right, let's jump into it, man, because people's attention spans.
Yeah, are we live on that too?
We're live, dude.
Let me share it.
Share it.
All right,
continue.
continue.
Let the people know.
Speak.
We got to always come out of the gate with the heat because our watch times drop dramatically after 17 seconds.
Oh, we can't share it because the group is private.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
We'll share it to the group. We already did.
That's fine.
Share it afterward.
That's fine.
All right, guys. So, last time on an episode that you guys haven't heard because GarageBand sucks, and yeah, it's unprofessional that we use GarageBand, but hey, you know what? It's on budget because we're doing this for free. Because there's no chance of us getting monetized. We're almost going to get pulled down.
Yeah, this might be the last. Who knows? You know?
Well, this one's... First thing we're going to talk about tonight, was CERN. Now, it's an old topic. However, nobody's talked about them in a while.
Nobody's talking
What
about
are they
it.
doing?
What are they doing?
You leave CERN to themselves for too long, and they start doing things.
That's why we can't have nice things, man.
I mean, I would like a Hadron Collider. That'd be kind of cool to have in the backyard.
Well,
I trust it to them more than I trust it to me.
Brian said that they're cavemen and that his fits on his desk.
Really?
Yep. Ask him. I don't know. That's what he told me. That's all I know.
That's a small Hadron. I mean, hey, you got
If it works, it works.
If it works, it works, man.
Particles are small. Why does it need to be so big?
Well, see, this is the thing. This is the rub, right? Anytime you've got some craziness, it's always paired with not craziness. It's always paired with something innocuous. You know, like, oh, no, they're just, they're doing the Hadron Collider, and they're doing cancer research and stuff like that. What's the big deal? You know, I bought their stock a long time ago, and it made me a lot of money. You could say the same thing about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah.
However, as we all know, they're funding all of the corruption in the world.
There's a reason we're here.
So, I did do this. This is a controversial stance. I watched the infamous opening ceremony of the tunnel, the longest tunnel in the world.
The tunnel. What is that tunnel called?
Can't remember.
We don't have an engineer at the computer today.
The producer is actually guest hosting.
So
today,
I'm going to do this on my phone.
And my phone we're going live on. So, so I watched it, right? It's this opening ceremony. Now, years ago when it came out, right, my parents were like, you got to see this, man. So I was watching it, and they're like, it's so weird. Why would they do this? There's world dignitaries there. There's all kinds of stuff. Why are they doing all this running around with ram's horns on and this big angel baby thing flying around, flapping its wings on people and all this kind of weird stuff?
The Gotthard Base Tunnel.
Gotthard Base.
GBT. Gotthard Base Tunnel.
That sounds so creepy.
Anyways, sorry.
So I watched it again, right? I watched it again last night. And I think I understand it, actually.
The ceremony itself.
I think I actually understood it.
Okay, here's the thing, because when I watched it, I've watched it like 3 times in full, and probably like bits and pieces of it, who knows how many times, right? Showing people and stuff like that. And dude, every time now I watch it, and the more I watch it, and the deeper I go into like the occult symbolisms and all these things, every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like I see something else.
There is some stuff in there, but like the overall, but I think like I understood the narrative of it. So it was like, there's the angel baby thing that comes out, the big head, and it's like the dawn of man. The
feather baby?
Yeah, it's like, supposed to be some kind of like heavenly thing. And then there's, I guess, mankind that comes up, and there's like whatever. And then they have like off in the distance or to the side or whatever, the guy who's supposed to be like the industry machine, and he's like banging on metal and stuff like that. And he's supposed to be like the machine. And then, you know, they have like the people just going milling about or whatever. And then they all leave. And then the devil figure comes in and all his little minions or whatever are running around. And then that gets introduced into the industry machine. And then the people are then, they intertwine with the machine, and then it, you know, it turns the whole world basically. The ending is like this big circus, and the whole world is now this big circus around this machine. And I was like, oh, when I first watched it, I was like, what, oh, it's the devil. Why they got the devil there?
No,
I wasn't reading, thinking of it like, but I was like, I don't know, 20. I didn't know anything about conspiracy or anything about, so it was like, to me, it was just like, there's no reason for that. But now watching it again, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of understand the story. If you're talking about like the evil of the machine, then I get it. And honestly, that's more out of place when they're talking about the machine that built that tunnel. And true. CERN, who has some like really technologically advanced machines, it almost seems like it's a jab at them.
But what about the part at the end where they merge with the machines?
That's at the second half, right? Because there's two ceremonies. So one is in like 40 minutes or an hour into the whole thing.
And the other one is on the screen.
Yeah. So the second one, it like picks up with the kind of like a quick summary, I guess, and then it picks up after the circus thing, and then you got like the people, and you can kind of see them building the they're trying to like climb the rock or whatever. And sup, dude? Thanks for watching. I don't have my glasses on.
Jay Brooks says, "What up?
What up, dude?" Yeah, so they're like climbing the rock and they're like falling and blah blah blah. They're building the tunnel or whatever, and then like the heads come out. Those 3 heads. I don't know who those 3 heads were.
I forget the name.
It's like 3 dudes with the big heads on. But yeah, then they kind of like they give in to the machine that like becomes like one.
Yeah, they all bow down.
Yeah.
But the machine, if you watch the screen, the machine, its eyes.
Yeah,
before it shifts.
It's the arms first.
It's the arms.
It's like the human strength, right? And then it's the eye, which I guess would be like knowledge or something.
The part with the people that are falling, you know, where they keep falling, and it looks like the rocks on the screen are falling. Apparently, that's to pay like homage to all the people who died in the construction of the thing. So that whole like first 10 minutes of the ceremony, I was like, okay, like there wasn't even really anything weird about that.
Nothing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was watching. I'm like, oh, this is normal. I understand this.
But right after that is when the symbolism kicked in.
Yeah, it's like all these arms that are in a circle, and they keep lining up, and then unaligning and forming like I don't want to say a star, but like a wheel.
It's Shiva.
It is Shiva with the 6 arms.
That's got why the 6 arms in the middle. In front of CERN. It's just a representation of Shiva.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's
the goddess of destruction.
It is very strange. Well, see, what was interesting too, right? Okay, so going down with the goddess of destruction, all of the conspiracies, or I don't want to say all of them, but the main one that I've heard is that they're trying to find a 5th dimension, which has been explained to me as they're trying to like open up a portal to the nether realm or some other realm, which is going to invite all the demons in.
Right.
Now, where they get that from is Revelation 9:11, or I think 9:7 through 12, where it talks about the keys to the bottomless pit is given to Apollyon or Abaddon, which is his name means destruction or the destroyer, which obviously is another name with Shiva.
Same entity, different
the destroyer.
Name. Sure, okay.
So, or destruction. So, and then Apollyon opens up the bottomless pit, and these creatures come out and wreak havoc on the world for 5 months. So it's interesting that even before that connection was made, they chose to do some, like, pay homage to Shiva. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't think they're consciously doing it, but it's like they already have identified this symbolism with Shiva, the destroyer, and then
So here's a good point. Okay, I was having a conversation with somebody. I wouldn't call it an argument, but it was a back and forth discussion.
A little volley.
Yeah, about symbolism. And I was trying to make the point that symbolism has an effect, right? Whether you believe in the symbols or not. And his argument was the symbols only have power if you give them power, right?
Yeah, see, I don't believe that at all.
I believe the symbols have power whether you want them to.
Of themselves.
Yes, and I believe that just you in having the, it could be in your peripheral, you're not even looking at the symbol, and your subconscious takes it in, and it has an effect on you.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of like, what you're talking about. And I think the repetition of these symbols happening over and over again, that's what propagates people to do things that they don't even know that they're doing that fall in line with the system.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think, I've always had the same kind of idea with names. Like, a person kind of grows into their name.
Word magic. It's the same as symbol magic.
Exactly. Yeah. I think there's some power to it. Like, my name, Charles, and I didn't know what my name meant, really. I never really looked it up until I was much older. It means free man. And if you know me, dog, free as a bird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't care about what people think. I do my own thing. I'm my own guy. I'm
out of the box, man.
Yeah, out of the box. My younger brother, and this isn't to talk bad about my younger brother, whose name means child of the sun. His middle name means child of the sun. That boy is vain. He's the center of his own universe. So, and it's like, we never said his middle name ever. You know what I mean? But
it's just there.
It's there, man. You gave him that name.
It's a subconscious
and
thing.
He knows what it means, but it's not like he's hearing that all the time.
Right.
And his personality takes after that of,
The word magic has the same effect as the symbol magic. That has the same effect as the number magic, as the astrology magic, as the geomancy or the ley line magic, right? Like, there's all these different magics, which are now,
for lack of a better word,
yeah. Well, now they're becoming sciences, which is awesome to me.
That's always how science works, though.
Yeah, for sure. It's always woo.
It's like, whoa, what is that? And then it's like, oh, there's actually an explanation for
Absolutely. And it's happening faster and faster now. It's happening to the point, so I follow a lot of quantum tech companies and stuff like that, because I'm interested in where the AI is going. I want to know where the quantum computing is going.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, but it's every single day I see a new article, and it's not like old articles. It's new articles written 1 hour ago.
Yeah.
Quantum physicists discover a way to do something that we thought was impossible, like teleportation. They teleported particles, or they, found, the restart of the universe, right? Now, the way that they word it in a very, legally scientific type of way.
It's not in layman's terms.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
it's all inside baseball.
Somebody like me will say, this is a simulation and there's a reset button.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it would be like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And then CERN will come out and say, we found the restart to the parallel string theory universe, whatever.
Well, they're doing that with a bunch of conspiracy theorists for years. Are all like, oh, gravity's not real, blah blah blah. And then if you actually, which I've done, you can go on to CERN's website and read all of their research journals, and I mean, they've got thousands of them. So I was going on trying to find the dirt, years ago, and I found that they have been trying to figure out, and this is in their journals and their summaries and stuff like that, and their extracts. Is that what it's called? No, what's it called when you I can't remember what the word is. It's escaping me. The summary of the it's X something. Abstract. Not even close. So I was reading some of the abstracts of their journals, and then some of the summaries of their journals. I was reading full journals when I had time to. They believed, I don't know if they still believe this, but they believed that the amount of gravity produced by the Earth, even taking into consideration relative motion, you shouldn't be able to break that gravity so easily. right? It should have so much more physical power over you, right? So, and then what they were doing is they were theoretically breaking the speed of light in a vacuum. So I don't remember how exactly they were doing. They were blasting neutrinos across the Alps and catching them faster than they should be able to.
I think I read something about that, yeah.
So they were like, and based on that, they were like, okay, so then that means that gravity doesn't work quite how we think it does. And they think that it is more electromagnetism.
Which is hilarious.
That's what conspiracy theorists have been saying for years.
I've been saying this for years.
years and years and years and years.
Gravity
is not what we think it is.
Is not what you think it is.
Now, unfortunately, there's enough people out there, and this is why we have this podcast. Partly why. Because there's a lot of woo-woo out there, and they do a disservice to the actual, like, there's some woogity-boogity going on out there.
They'll say gravity isn't real.
Yeah, when it's actually... probably is, but it's just not what you think it is.
Just not what you think.
So CERN thinks that gravity is interacting with the universe in a way that we've not been able to fully detect. And that's what they're calling the fifth dimension. Now, if you try to explain, I've listened to, I think it's guys on Numberphile, fantastic YouTube channel. And Smarter Every Day or something like that. I can't remember. I think it was Numberphile. They were explaining, multi-dimensional theory, like more than four. So they were like, all you're really doing, is you have your X, and then your Y, and then you have your H, and then you have that moving. And so he's like, but really all you need to do is fold it in another shape, and you've got another dimension. Right? Or introduce another metric in there. And they're thinking that gravity is that other metric, that fifth dimension that we haven't really figured out.
Right.
We only know about it, but we don't know how it works. And I was like, oh, snap, dude. This is like, and the guy was explaining, he's like, this is as groundbreaking as discovering, as a two-dimensional object discovering that there's three dimensions.
Right.
It would change everything. Or discovering time or motion, that you can move from one x-axis to another. And
so here's my thing. Like, when does it go from woo-woo to science? Like, where's the line? At what point?
When a PhD says it. It's like, literally, it's just who says it.
That's so wild to me.
It's just who says it.
That simple. When there is some sort of consensus among PhD intellectuals, they'll decide that this is now a fact.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, in a lot of cases, I'm sure that works perfectly great because there's a lot of things that you can narrow down to fact. But when we're talking about quantum realms, we're talking about, things that our brains cannot perceive.
You have people that adhere to theories like they're laws. Gravity's a theory, right? Evolution is a theory. Like time and space in many ways is a theory. The speed of light is a constant, but only in a vacuum. There's caveats to this stuff. And the problem is if you ever say anything woo-woo and then say something true, you're
done. Yeah.
That's it. You're out
and
of
if
here,
you
man.
are an academic, you are a PhD, and you figure out one of these things. So you come across something like this that would be considered woo-woo without the backup of not only your peers, but the people above you that are giving you funding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That goes in a box somewhere, or it gets taken away.
Well, if they can't utilize it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like if Bill Gates can't figure out a way to make another $1 trillion with a fifth dimension, he's got no interest in it.
Well, here's the thing. We all know, conspiracies aside, that the government, take that as you will, is 20, 30 years ahead of us. The military-industrial complex, I should say, okay? The secret black budget programs, they're at least 20 years ahead of us. So anything that you and I are talking about right now, this quantum tech, fifth dimension, but they've known it.
Yeah.
They knew that a long time ago.
Well, they're the ones that discovered it.
Well, that's why there's so many trillions of dollars missing.
Mm-hmm. There's no balance in that budget.
Not like that they spent it on accident and they can figure out like, oh, we spent too much on the Iraq war.
Yeah.
No, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Trillion. More money than the whole world's economy.
Yeah, it's more than missing. Our GDP is missing.
But, no problem.
No, there's nothing to see here, guys.
It's because they've been going in. There's a video. I don't know if it was a TED Talk, but I think it was a TED Talk of one of the head dudes at CERN in like 2015, 2016. And he literally said that they were looking into other dimensions. I don't know if he used the word parallel, but they were looking into other dimensions and they were bringing back data from those dimensions. Ooh. Now, let me just think. Let's just... for a second here, okay? Everything in the universe is frequencies and vibrations, right? We already know this. The people in the Secret Intelligence Agency documents said that the universe is a hologram matrix, right? So everything is frequencies and vibrations.
Yeah, go listen to what episode?
Montauk.
Yeah, go listen to Montauk Project. That was groundbreaking.
Proof. The universe is frequencies, no doubt. So... and I totally lost my train of thought. What were we talking about right before this?
The Secret Intelligence Agency said they were going into everything is frequencies.
So they've had for all this time the money, the time, and the knowledge of these quantum fields. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. They're tweaking vibrations. They're tweaking frequencies. The matrix. They're pulling data from other dimensions into this one. They're pulling code from one matrix into this matrix. What happens when you introduce foreign code into a computer program or code that you
get that Windows 404 page?
Bugs. Yeah. It's going to be Starship Troopers, bro. The portals are going to open and the bugs are coming, dude.
The bugs are coming,
The big bugs.
So the other thing, and this is where my brain goes all the time, is it's either that or the biggest scam ever. And somebody's just sitting there going, yeah, actually, I did discover something new today. Look at this. And it's a bunch of numbers to some finance guy. And he's like, yeah. And then that dude gets $175,000 a year plus benefits and a 2-week vacation. And then they're just scamming people.
And a $2.5 billion grant from the government.
Yeah, exactly. And just scamming people, which I mean, which happens all of the time, all of the time. The whole energy thing is a big scam. The whole green stuff, it's all a scam.
Money.
It's all money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
People ask me this too, because they're like, oh, if all these other things are happening too, like the deep dark stuff, like why do they need the money? Why do they care about the money? Why is the drug war about money? Why is NASA about money? Why is what we're talking about here about money?
It's more than that, man.
It's not about them getting more money. They don't need money. It doesn't matter to them. It's not about them accruing more, even though they do accrue more.
Yeah.
It's just about you not getting more.
And it's like when you're drunk, right? You're drunk. Do you need to drink more?
No, but you keep going.
You just keep on going.
Feels good.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Feels real good.
It's a bottomless pit. It's appetite. Yeah. That's all it is. True, you know what I mean? And that's what a lot of this is. It's corruption. It's evil. And it's a bottomless pit. They take, and then they're like,
well, here we go.
I could just take more.
What happens to mainstream religion once information about something like CERN becomes even more accepted? Recreating Big Bang matter is their study. So how do you explain that to religious folks? Well, that's the whole thing about in the New World Order, in the New World Order, there's going to be a one world government and one world religion, one world language, one world currency. The one world religion is going to be science. We've already talked about this many times.
Well, it's going to be a version of science.
A version of science. It'll be a scientific religion, okay? Yeah. And the way that they'll do it is by saying what you read in your book was true. They just didn't have the words to explain it to you. Mm-hmm. And then, the thousands of years and the books and the changing and the blah, 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 blah. But what they really meant was that there's a Higgs boson particle.
Yeah.
There's a Higgs boson particle. It holds the universe together like dark matter. We only caught it for a fraction of a millisecond, but we know it's there. But, religious people don't bat an eye. That didn't crash religion. You know what I'm saying?
No, and there's a phenomenon that happens when you have two competing ideas, right? You've got an idea that if there is a higher power out there, then by default he's the boss, right? And then if there's no higher power out there, then by default we're the boss.
Right.
We're the smartest thing we've discovered. We've not discovered anything more intelligent per se. As far as I'm concerned in my daily life, if there's no higher power out there, I'm the boss.
Right.
Or whoever's tougher than me is the boss.
Whoever's tougher than me.
Yeah, if you can beat me up, then I guess you're the boss.
If you're tougher than me, you're the boss. Right now,
so you got those two ideas are at the heart of the thing. Yeah. So what ends up happening, unfortunately, in any God versus atheist debate, whatever, creation versus evolution debate, whatever, it all devolves into, who's got the bigger package, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, both systems are faith-based. Mm-hmm. You cannot prove history with an equation. You can only prove history with analytics. You have to have a record of it. So at a certain point, you just can't go any further back with either of them. Well, what came before that and what came before that? And at a certain point, you just believe it because you believe it.
There's just no data.
There's just no data. You cannot put an equation on the board that says Abraham Lincoln was our 15th president, 16th president, whatever he was. The only way you can prove that a historical event happened is with data. Mm-hmm. You have to either have a written record of it or some footprint that this happened. That's why we can prove that an asteroid crashed somewhere. Right. Well, there's evidence that it crashed. So with the universe expanding, it's you can interpret the evidence that way. You can also not, because at a certain point, you just can't go any further back.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't really matter if the quantum experiments, it doesn't matter. Here's the main God figure will always be the same. He's always an old bearded man in the sky. Yeah. It doesn't matter if he created the Earth 6,000 years ago and it's flat, or if he's the architect from the Matrix, who was also an old bearded man, by the way. Either one of them...
Is this Will Ferrell?
Either one of them created the universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, again, who it is. It's the same bearded man figure, which is Saturn. But
yeah, so it's I don't think there's ever going to be a convincing of religion either parties, because it's both faith.
Well, that's why the Project Bluebeam is going to use the religions. They won't trick you into not believing in your religion.
They're going to meld them all into one.
They will meld them into one.
It's going to be one big
see your God in the sky, or however it's going to work. You're going to witness your God, whatever it is. And you'll be standing right next to somebody who's witnessing their God. And you, at the end of it, whatever's going to happen, you guys will all be under the same understanding that...
Here's what's absolutely nuts about that. And I was telling a guy, so I was at church this weekend, and this guy was asking me about, he's like, so what other kind of stuff do you do? And I was like, I do this podcast. It's a conspiracy theory podcast. He's like, that's crazy, man. What's the craziest episode you've done? And I was like, man, I think the Saturn worship is probably the most wild stuff we've talked about. But also... the Bill Gates stuff is also really pernicious and pretty scary. But I was like, what's really cool, the more you dig into stuff, and what's fascinating to me is I'll hear a conspiracy I've never heard before, right? And Project Bluebeam. And I'll immediately be like, oh, snap, dude, the Bible talks about this, right? So I had done a video for my church explaining why the vaccine, this whatever coming out right now, is not the mark of the beast. Right? And I walked through Revelation 18 or 13, whatever it was, and explained it. But while I was reading it, I was like, dude, this is Project Bluebeam in a sense, right? So in the chapter, it talks about at the end, or toward the end, so during they have the 7 years, there's a 7-year tribulation. The first 3.5 years is peace across the whole entire earth. One government, one leader, peace.
For how long?
3.5 years.
3.5 years, okay.
So this figure is propped up, and the whole world worships him in whatever way, but the whole world, every religion sees that figure as basically God or their leader. The Jews accept him as the Messiah. That fact is wild, right? Because they're looking for what they believed Jesus to be, right? Their idea of him. So they're looking for something so incredibly specific, and it's different than everybody else's.
So it works for everybody.
This figure, this Antichrist, this beast, the first beast, is going to be the melding of all.
So here's the thing.
He's going to sum up all of the religions.
Yeah, here's the thing, right? So, because a lot of people don't believe in revelations, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you believe it.
It's going to happen.
They believe it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because I'm one of them. Like, I'm not religious, but I believe it. You know, because they believe it.
Yeah.
And I know that they pull the strings, and everything that I see. And the thing is, man, the more I wake up, dude, every single day I see something, and it's more obvious.
It's more obvious. Well, that's what blows me away about I don't believe most of the end times prophecies that people like put out there. Mm-hmm. When I read something, if I read it and I look at it and I take it for face value, there's a bunch of other nonsense out there.
Fear mongering.
Yeah, you know.
Buy my food survival stuff.
Exactly. But when I read for myself with my own two eyeballs, I'm like,
here's what I can see.
But it's the same stuff that other people who don't believe in it are talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like at some way we're all coming to this similar conclusion, right? Everything's merging into one globalist entity. Right. Somebody's got to call the shots of this thing.
You want to know something good, though? You want some good news?
Yeah.
There's a mass awakening happening. I don't care if you're on Trump's team or if you're on Biden's team right now, okay? Or where you are in the world.
Or if you realize that there are actually no teams.
Right. It doesn't matter because here's what everybody is doing in the last couple years. Everybody is paying attention, whether they're paying attention to the right thing or thinking hard enough or looking deep enough. That's a whole nother thing. People that would never have given two shits about anything are looking at stuff.
Yeah, man.
People stormed the Capitol the other day.
Yeah, man.
I don't think that was smart.
Nope.
Very dumb.
Very dumb.
There was other things that you could have stormed the Capitol.
So many things.
And justified that with, but you chose the wrong thing.
Or if you're going to go and do something as egregious as storm the Capitol, get something out of it.
Get something out of it.
Don't take pictures. Storm the Capitol, steal the computers.
Look, man,
no, I'm not actually. Okay, don't take my YouTube channel down.
This is hypothetical.
Hypothetically speaking, if you're going to go, I mean, you should be friggin' Nicolas Cage in that thing and stealing the Declaration of Independence.
I'm just saying, like, there's things happening that would never have happened before.
People are bold, man.
People are
They're
questioning things. They're watching things. They're, you know, you might hate Trump. Okay. I got friends that hate Donald Trump, and good for you. I think the guy's an idiot. Yeah. But the thing is you're watching him now.
Yeah.
You're looking at the executive order he just signed. You're looking at the law that was just passed.
You're looking at the establishment go versus the outlier. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
now you are.
The establishment wins.
Right now.
The establishment wins, dude.
You see, okay, so like, not to defend anybody. I'm not picking sides here. Okay. But
no, I'm out on the outskirts.
This is a complete like outside opinion on this. You're pulling people off the internet because you don't like what they have to say. Now, some people will say like, oh, they're inciting this, they're inciting that. Dude, I'm not going to do the whataboutism thing. Yeah, I'm not about whataboutism, but it's real. Okay. It's real, but nobody looked, man, 5 years ago. Nobody cared, dude, what Obama was doing. That's why when you try to argue with people about, well, Obama did that. That's why the whataboutism thing, because nobody paid attention.
Yeah, nobody cared.
People think they're like, Biden, man, I love Biden. I'm like, good for you, bro. I'm glad that you love Biden. But in 4 years, you're going to be just on his ass as you are on Trump's because you're watching now. And you're going to see what's happening.
Hopefully. Because one thing that has risen even more at the same, which is so weird to watch, right? Because now everything's under more scrutiny, like you're saying. Mm-hmm. Everything's more scrutinized. Yeah. However, team mentality is also really, really like out there now.
But so is mob mentality, eat your own.
Yeah, that is true as well. That it's like everything is just getting turned to 10.
People
so it's like everybody's scrutinizing more. Everybody's like, no, my team versus your team. And then you're like, wait a second. You're not my team, you're my team, his team, my team. And that means you're not on my team. So now, and it's like,
when everybody realizes that the two teams that are fighting each other, that there was somebody who made the rules, then it's over. And that's coming very soon.
What was I talking? Was I talking to you?
Maybe.
About the Star Wars? No. Dude, okay. This is insane, guys. Homework, all right? Fun little home project. Me and Jade watched Star Wars Revenge of the Sith a couple nights ago. It is the world we live in currently. I mean, the exact story. You got good guys versus bad guys, and some people think the good guys are the good guys, and some people think the good guys are the bad guys, and they're going at each other. And then you have this one guy, the Emperor, who is on both sides. Mm-hmm. There's no sides to him.
Yep.
He's got the clones and the droids.
He's in the Senate.
He's got the Senate and the Federation working for him. They're both, it doesn't matter who wins, he wins.
He wins.
He's playing both sides, and he's making them fight. Like, so I didn't even realize this when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Because I haven't watched a movie in years.
How deep of a political, like...
Well, yeah, I didn't realize that he makes the war. Mm-hmm. He causes the war. He has the droids fight the clones. He creates the clones to fight the droids, and he then makes the war. I was like, he built an army to fight his own army. He built a second army to fight his own army, so that way he could have a better army.
And trick the galaxy.
And trick the whole Senate into giving him all the power. And they gave him the position of Emperor. He didn't take over.
The greatest false flag event ever in cinematic history was what is it? Order
66.
Order 66. Think of those numbers.
I know, dude.
Order 66.
I was like, holy crap, dude, this is some Simpsons stuff right here.
The greatest political move, shady whatever, dude, in cinematic history. And people just gloss right over it.
When Padme says, and this is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause, I was like,
oh my God.
And then right after that, Anakin's fighting Obi-Wan, and he's like, you are the chosen one, blah, blah, blah. You're supposed to be fighting for good. And he's like, the Sith are evil. And then Anakin's like, well, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. Mm-hmm. And then Obi-Wan says, well, then you really are lost. And then Anakin says, if you are not on my side, then you are my enemy. I was like, dude, this is the world we live in, bro. If you're not with me, you are my enemy.
Let me just say, that's the greatest Star Wars movie, I think.
I used to hate it, and now I love it because I love the story. I love watching how the Emperor just pulls he's just the puppet master.
He's the whole movie,
reminds me, I'm like, dude, this is every awakening, like, you're coming to like grips on reality. The Matrix, Star Wars, the first few episodes, the later ones I don't think were really that insightful. Episode 1, 2, and 3. Right. And then
Lord of the Rings.
I gotta rewatch those.
Okay, I'll show you, and then you'll do homework.
Yeah, you're gonna come back. Then what's the one where Jim Carrey's in a TV show?
Truman Show. When was the last time you watched the Truman Show?
I've never seen it.
You've never
I've
seen it?
only seen clips.
Can we do an episode where we just watch the Truman Show?
Yes, we'll
and I
do
can
that.
Pause it every 2 minutes when point out the thing that's just
absolutely.
like staring you in the face. Dude, that movie is amazing, man. Oh, that's my favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, what's your favorite movie? And I think I gave them 2. And it was Truman Show was definitely always there.
Yeah, man. And so what I think is going to end up happening is people are going to see
Lord of the Rings of Saturn, Josh Brooks says. That's true. That's true. He's on the right track, but yeah.
That's funny,
we'll have to do a Lord of the Rings episode.
Dude, we're going to have to do a Lord of the Rings episode.
It's deep.
Yeah, man. What the thing that I was talking to Jade about this, like I think people are misguided a little bit now when they're talking about, CERN is doing this and the government's doing that and Bill Gates is doing this and blah, blah, blah. The evil will always be more bold than the good because the good guys don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Evil don't care.
Evil don't care. They will step on your toes.
They'll lie.
They will break your knees.
Cheat.
They will always be more bold and more effective than good. That's why the universe is just tending toward destruction. It's just how it is.
Which is why there's a reset button.
There's a reset button. And see, guess what? The Bible also talks about a reset button.
Yeah.
It does. Right in the end of Revelation, there's a reset button, which is crazy, right? So there's the 3.5 years of peace. And everything's great. And then this Antichrist guy, he goes and the Jews invite him in to the temple that they built.
Come hang out.
He goes in there and I think he kills a pig on the altar, which is unclean. So he desecrates the temple.
Bad idea.
And then...
Not a child. Should have done a child. Is that what you're
That'd be even worse.
Is that what you're telling me?
It might as well be.
Okay.
So he desecrates the temple by slaughtering a pig in there and he throws the blood everywhere. Which you're not supposed to. And he does it like on the...
Which you're not supposed to do? Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, they sacrifice other animals in there, but you're not supposed to do an unclean animal. And so he does that. And then that marks the judgment from God. Now this is where the CERN thing gets a little... I think they derail because they pull this whole thing from the Bible. The whole idea of them opening up a portal to bring in demons, that's obviously from the Bible. And so it's a little bit of a departure because that is a judgment from God. It has nothing to do with man. However, after that, you go through 3.5 years of absolute pandemonium like the universe has never seen before. It resets. And there's 1,000 years that there's just, it's smooth sailing. Smooth, absolute sailing. The Bible even says that we like live our full lifespan. So like children will be in their, like some people will live through the full 1,000 years.
Right. So I don't really get into like prophecy stuff too much just because people,
But I'm saying though, that's kind of like a reset.
Right. No. And
where it's like mankind, like all the corruption is kind of like everybody just...
The great unveiling.
Yeah.
The apocalypse.
They get it. Oh, hold on a second.
I think that's happening right now. And
I think we're ramping up to it.
Not even to get into like the prophecy of it, although I do believe that there is... I mean, everything's, again, man, it all comes back to frequencies, bro. If the whole universe is waves, what do waves do? They oscillate back and forth and back and forth. So we've done this before, a trillion infinite number of times.
Do you ever get feedback on your amp? It starts off real small, and then that frequency just keeps boosting itself.
I don't get feedback because
and then it's just like, ah!
Right.
But that stuff builds.
It's oscillating. Yeah. Everything. Time. The expansion of the universe will collapse and it'll expand again and it'll collapse and it'll expand again and it'll reset and start over and over and over again. We've done this before. That's why we all know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Jade asked one day, she's like, was the last episode? She was like, should we be afraid of this alignment thing or whatever? And I was like, nah, man, whatever, dude. If it resets, you won't even know. What'll happen is it probably resets all the time.
Yeah.
It just reset right now and here we are again. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have no idea that it's resetting.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what's interesting, too, like, you ever seen, like, a movie where, like, a planet or something blows up? We were watching Star Wars, and it's like the Death Star blows a planet up, and those people are dead immediately. Never even saw it coming. It's not like, whoa, it's like when that thing goes, it's gone. You're insta-dead.
Done.
Your brain doesn't even have time to comprehend it.
Especially if you're on the other side of the planet. You didn't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just sitting there sleeping, you're waking up, brushing your teeth, poof, gone. So it's like whenever the universe decides to implode on itself or whatever.
Speaking of this, man, speaking of explosions that destroy planets, what psychopaths just take particles and slam them into each other at light speed or close to it? This is a great idea. Let's just take stuff that we don't really know everything about, along with other stuff we don't know everything about, and we'll slam them into each other really hard and see what happens.
I thought the same thing until I was reading, and they're like, look, because they were addressing some of these comments. This is CERN, with their Hadron Collider. They're like, look, the only reason that we even know to do this is because we've seen it happen in the universe. We didn't know that two particles could hit each other. We thought that they're too small and that they're, both solid, like they're both like wave and photon or whatever.
Right, they're not physical objects.
It's like, so we didn't even know it was possible.
Right.
The only reason we're doing it is because it happens thousands of times just right here. So it's like we're not doing something that's not natural.
No, but
I was like, but you are doing it in an unnatural setting, right? You are forcing it to happen more, and you're putting it under unnatural parameters, right? I get your science talk there, smart guy. However, the universe doesn't have a naturally occurring hadron collider.
You're messing with the oscillations, man. If you put a pendulum in this motion and you mess with it,
you start messing with it,
doesn't
dude.
do the same motion anymore.
Yeah, dude.
That's why the Mandela Effect is a real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, have you ever been driving or just wherever, and it's like you feel like something else is supposed to happen?
Like you died in another parallel universe and then you just kept going in this one?
So this has happened to me a few times. I'll be like, it happened a lot when I used to be a state trooper. I would almost get into car accidents. You're in the car 12 hours a day,
right?
Every day. You get into almost car accidents a lot. There's one time I was driving and I should have flown off this ramp, but I didn't. I looked up and corrected at an ungodly speed, right? For this, so I was taking this ramp at like 60 miles an hour, and it was like a definitely like 25 mile an hour ramp. And as I'm like, going around this corner, I'm like, I felt like I should have flown off, or like I did. And I was like, oh, dude, it almost feels like this is the reality that got chosen.
I always wonder this.
Like there were so many scenarios that could have just happened.
Yeah.
And this one got chosen. This one was picked.
I don't think so.
Or this one was what was fell into.
That's a good
whatever.
way to think about it, but that's a selfish way to think about it. That would imply that your reality is more important than every other potential that exists.
Yeah.
What I think is that every other potential exists, and that you did fly off the ramp.
Exactly. Like it was supposed. Like that's actually it did happen.
It did,
but I'm not perceiving that one.
In that reality, you probably died.
I would have definitely died. I was higher than the trees.
I have this theory. Maybe it's somebody else's theory, but I have this theory that when you die, you don't know that you died. You just continue on. Something happens, where in your perception of reality, the death didn't occur and you continue on. But in that reality, you did die. You know what I'm saying? And there's a whole timeline of that, and there's an infinite number of time. I mean, again, if the universe is all these things that the science says that it is, then there's no reason to think that that's not the case. In fact, Elon Musk even said that there's 1 in billions chance that we live in base reality, and that we probably live in some sort of simulation. And if this is my simulation and this is your simulation, let's say we're in the mothership and we're looking at the Earth, and we're not allowed onto the Earth yet because we're all still assholes, and the quantum AI Matrix has decided that we are not worthy of the Earth yet.
Yeah, or it's still running programs trying to
get running simulations over and over and over.
You decided to go and say that thing you shouldn't have said.
Everybody's simulation is their own simulation, designed specifically for you. So until you get your simulation right and I get my simulation right, we're not getting out of this simulation to go do what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's like, as far as my perception is concerned, nothing existed before I did. Obviously, I was conceived, but I wouldn't know that until I was 2, 3.
Well, the government has already admitted that they know how to implant false memories into you. Remember, we went over this.
Yeah.
So if the government, some schlubs can do this, why couldn't the architect or God have some way to make this happen as well?
Yeah, I mean, you could show me a picture of myself when I was 2 years old and I'll fill the rest in.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what happened before that.
And here's another question to Kevin, since he was asking about the religion thing. Like, if, let's say, Bluebeam aside, if aliens came down and they said that we are the beings that you all talk about in these books, would you believe it? Would you believe them, I would say? Aside, again, conspiracy bullshit aside. Like,
dude, if aliens came down?
If aliens literally came down and we're like, we are the beings that you guys wrote about,
I'd be more inclined that they are,
you'd believe it.
I would believe it, but I would be very suspicious that they're good guys.
Sure.
I mean, like,
but how many billions?
Which ones that we wrote about?
How many
are
billions?
You demons, or are you what are you?
Right. Well, what happens when the Pope comes out and says, "Yep, that's him. That's Jesus, this green alien man, or whatever it is, reptilian."
Be like, go back to touching kids.
Right.
I don't trust you either.
But you get what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Billions of people would be like, "Oh shit, okay," and they would just, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. They think that's what actually happens.
Might be.
I think that's what actually happens, because the vision that John has on that island or whatever, he's like, I stood on the edge of the beach and I saw a dragon rise, and that's definitely the devil, whatever entity. And then I saw a beast, and it's clearly not a man that he sees. Right? Now, metaphor, whatever, I don't know. I didn't see it.
He's seen some shit.
He's seen something he cannot explain in regular human terms, right? He has no idea what that thing is. It's just a beast. And it's just describing it with like 7 heads, and it's got horns on its head and crowns on them. And then he sees a second beast. And then he sees the second beast make an image of the first beast. And that image is monstrous. Exterminating people. So it's like, yeah, there's something that's going to come down and just rock everybody to their core.
And I see so much, like this Corona relief package. They had the 180-day countdown for the Pentagon to release the UFO information. It's like they're putting this out. They're giving you little seeds just so your subconscious is ready. So when the event happens, that we're all like, oh yeah, they've been telling us all this forever.
Yeah. Dude, there's guys out there, and I'm sure plenty of our listeners have seen it back in the day when they used to have all those spots blacked out in Google Sky. You could go out and like look at all the constellations, and there'd be these just pixeled blacked out, completely blacked out.
Hiding something.
They're like, what's out there? That's not the International Space Station.
They do it on Earth. There's places on the globe that are
you can't
brushed out and blacked out.
Can't go look.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're like buttering everybody up for it. But I was talking about it with my brother. He's like, oh, what do you think about, these aliens? Like, what if aliens came here? What if, whatever, not Martians or whatever, like these corny, a War of the Worlds kind of deal. But like, what if something from some other dimension
shit you can't even think of?
Yes. What if something from maybe another planet, another dimension, whatever you want to call it? What if they came here? What would happen? I'm like, I think that it's a takeover. I'm not fighting that thing.
No?
You crazy?
So what you're telling me, if War of the Worlds happened right now, you're just gonna bend over and take it?
Dude, I'm running into the beams,
Come
dude.
on,
I'm
Tom
running
Cruise,
into the
man.
beams, dude.
Nah, bro, I'm
not
jumping in
Tom
the van.
Cruise, though.
I'm jumping in the van with Tom, bro. Me and Tom are out,
I'm hopping in the van.
Scientology and all.
I'm going straight to the ship, and I'm running into the beams. Just stay away, dude. I'm running in, and I'm getting turned into cigarette ash, bro.
Oh man,
I'm not fighting that. Getting sucked into a thing and trying to fight while this thing's just sitting there probing me to death.
I mean, you're right. Yeah. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
But that's the whole thing, man. They know this. Remember George Bush said if an alien threat from outside this world came, then the whole world would come together. Of course it would. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And it would come under allegiance to that thing. Whatever's, dude, like I said before, if you're bigger than me, you're the boss.
Now, again, if they're 20 years ahead, they have quantum tech locked down, which means they probably have time travel, I'm assuming. I don't know how that works, dude. But what if that's them?
I mean, that's what people think that built the pyramids.
Some people think that we went back in time, or that not like we, but like people in the far future went back in time. People so far in the future whose names were Horus, Ra, Thoth.
Yeah.
These astronauts, these timonauts went back in time and they started civilization.
Yeah, I remember back in the day that everyone thought that was like, well, there was these like people that were like sleeping with demons and they created like these superhumans and they built the things. But it's like now I think the general consensus is that there was other entities on the earth at some point and they built the pyramids and taught them all kinds of stuff.
I used to think of that. I used to think
you shouldn't be able to know with as primitive as those people were,
right, that
there's a true north.
So here's the thing.
The only way you should be able to calculate that is with a magnet.
I think
you
that's
wouldn't
a
point to
psyop.
true north.
That's part of the Bluebeam psyop. Because I used to be deep into like aliens built the pyramids, aliens built the ancient structures.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if they did, but I think that they helped.
They helped, or they brought the. I used to be on that level.
Yeah.
I'm not on that level anymore. I'm really not, dude. I'm really thinking that was, this seeding, the Bluebeam seeding has been happening since the 40s, since Roswell. So all of that stuff is part of it as well, I think. You know what I'm saying? I think that human beings in our form now did those things. They built those pyramids. I think. Yeah,
I think that they had a lot of knowledge that we didn't.
They have
before.
knowledge that we don't have now. I think that suppression.
What's crazy, you'll see like, and I'm not trying to bring everything back to the Bible, but in like, any depiction that you see of like the first people, Adam and Eve and Noah, blah blah blah, they're like all robes and sticks and stones,
cavemen basically.
In somewhere, it's like the 4th or 5th chapter of Genesis, they're talking about the first stringed instruments and metallurgy. The guy who started making things out of metal.
Which would take thousands and thousands of years.
If you didn't know about it.
Yeah, to
right?
figure it out.
If you were dumb.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it also talks about people living for hundreds and hundreds of years. So you have this massive wealth of knowledge. And you can work on something. There's no war.
You want to know what it is?
There's no war, and I can talk to my great grandfather. He's still alive.
800 years old.
Yeah. And the 79 brothers that he's had. Yeah. And we're all working on stuff together. And there's no war.
I think that's real.
And we all speak the same language.
I think that's real. That's not just a Bible thing. The stories
the evidence bears it out.
The stories of humans living hundreds of years is found in all culture, not all cultures, but many cultures around the world, in many religions around the world, demigods. I mean, there's many stories of this. This isn't just like a Bible thing, right? But I definitely believe that. And I think what happened was, again, the vibrations, right? And we know that the symbol magic, right, has an effect on these vibrational fields. So I think that they've been using these symbols since the beginning of history. Yeah. That's why the pyramids are a pyramid. That's why, all of these things.
Yeah, there's something to it.
They've been subduing the subconscious mind over thousands and thousands of years to get us to the point to where we are now, where we only live 100 years, and our abilities, are limited to this physical 3-dimensional space.
I think as well, like kind of off the back of that, like, I think that there is information deeply encoded into our DNA. And I think that the scientists that are pioneering this stuff are kind of realizing that there's a lot of information back there that they could stretch it like 16 miles or something. Like one strand of DNA can go like forever.
Right.
So it's like...
And they've only decoded like
a fraction of it.
Yeah.
I think that we're instinctually working back toward the knowledge that we had before. We're more and more discovering that like processed foods are bad for you, that there's much more efficient forms of energy and all this kind of stuff, like that's already been, that knowledge is there. Like we're almost rediscovering it. You know what I mean?
Let me go on a limb here.
Yeah.
What if CERN, what if they're white hats? What if they're doing these things to try to help us get back to that state? What if they're not part of them?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they can help it.
What if that whole ceremony at the tunnel was them calling it out? Like, look, we know that this happened and this took place, and we're going to try to do something about it. And what if they're trying to open up portals and pull in data from other dimensions to try to fix
it's inevitable.
What has been broken?
I think the information is there, and so now we're just rediscovering it.
I wonder that sometimes. And I wonder that about a lot of these conspiracies, because, I go hard about like chemtrails. I'm like, oh, they're spraying shit and all these things, and it's such a bad thing. But every once in a while I sit back and I'm like, I wonder if it's a good thing. Yeah. I wonder if there's some reason that we don't know about that we need to be sprayed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's like the same with nuclear energy. I mean, we discovered it to blow up 2 cities.
Nukes are fake.
But then it's like, hold on a second. We could use this for some other stuff. So it's like, yeah, maybe chemtrails are bad now. Maybe it'll be good.
Maybe the solar radiation management is a good thing.
We started steroids to build super soldiers.
But let me break this down. Let me flip back now, just to stick on the chemtrails for a quick second. If it's an electromagnetic universe and the sun is producing the life energy that it does, the electromagnetic energy that it does, and they're spraying to cloud this energy from getting to us, like, what's that about? You know what I'm saying? What if it's not about blocking solar radiation because of global warming? What if it's about blocking solar radiation so that you don't get the good rays from the electromagnetic sun?
Could be that, or there could be, like there's a theory that the Earth used to have like another protective layer around it, and that's why it was all one temperature. Maybe we're working back toward that.
Maybe
to where we're going to pollute. And so there's more oxygen there than anywhere else because the trees are so dense, but there's also more carbon dioxide there because the trees are more dense and they need more food. Right. So it's like, I think inevitably science is going to figure out that we're maybe working backwards to like rediscover. I think that our DNA is going to keep figuring out stuff that we've already figured out and just making better. I think we already knew this stuff.
You ever get into Ray Kurzweil? He's one of these top level schmucks, right? And he talks about
this is very nice, very endearing.
Yeah,
top level schmuck.
Yeah, he talks about like transhumanism and like the singularity and all these things. And there's like a theory that the singularity, right, the moment when artificial intelligence becomes sentient and surpasses human intellect, right? And we become second on the totem pole. That singularity is somehow pulling time towards it to build itself, right?
Dude, I have heard of that, where like the machines are actually using us to build them, which is insane. In more ways than one. One, I think it's a little loony. But at the same time, what a wild thought that'd be.
What a great movie.
Yeah, dude.
What a great movie.
The machines are using us to build themselves. Which, if you substitute the word machine, right? If you substitute the word machine for knowledge, right? Knowledge is using us to give it a body. Right? It's kind of like how you make a song.
Do you want to know how deep
you have
that is?
An idea in your head, right? And you have to take the idea and build it. You have to put it into a machine so that way you can hear it back. And now the song is not in here, it's out here. You took something that's not sound waves that you can still hear somehow. Don't know how that works. You're hearing something that is not sound waves and you're turning it into physical sound waves.
Well, here's the thing. When you turn that into a physical sound wave, it's still only in here. It doesn't really exist out here. None of this exists out here.
But if you substitute if just in that same kind of thought, if you just substitute machine AI for just general blanket term knowledge, I think that makes sense. That knowledge is actually building itself. Yeah. It's figuring out how to give itself the perfect body.
So in ancient Hermetic traditions, right? Whatever, the knowledge is that, here's the idea, okay? If you are in a void, not a space, but you're in a void by yourself, just you in this void, there's no other object for you to be able to like locate yourself. You're nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? Now, put a chair in the void with you.
Now you have a reference point.
Okay, you can find your way back to the chair. You can sit in the chair. You in the chair are now
somewhere.
Where? Still nowhere.
But you're somewhere, though.
Now,
you're still nowhere.
Two objects.
You are somewhere.
You are...
Because now you're left of the chair.
You're still above the chair. Nowhere in relation to the chair.
Yeah.
Add a third object. You're still nowhere, and so is the chair in relation to the third object. You're only somewhere in relation to each other.
Yeah.
Now add an infinite number of things, i.e. atoms, neutrons, particles, the universe, us. Everything came into existence. We're in nowhere. We are a thought. God, the architect, whatever you want to call it, is just a thought. And we exist only in here. That's it.
Whoa.
That's like the Hermetic idea of it, which is kind of what you're saying.
We're just somebody's idea.
We're just a thought.
Yeah.
We are knowledge building itself.
Yeah.
So it has something to reside in.
Whoa. Man. Could you imagine, like, the day that knowledge figures out, like, that we understand that, you know what I mean? Like, when knowledge becomes physical?
What happens when AI figures that out?
Or just, what if it's us, though?
I don't know. Who's texting? In the beginning was the code, and the code was with the programmer. And the code was the programmer. He was the programmer in the beginning. Through him, all things were programmed. Without him, where am I at? Without him, nothing was programmed that has been programmed. In him was life, and that life was the upgrade of all mankind. I don't know what that means, Josh, but that's deep. It sounds good.
That's Genesis.
Is that it?
Substituted the word and God with program and programmer.
In the beginning was the code. And
in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God.
And the code was the programmer. Oh my God.
That's why, like, for me, when people are like, oh, yeah, how do you believe, in the Bible? It's like, it's not hard, man. Everybody believes some version of this thing. Mm-hmm. I just believe the one that's been written down for a long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
all the Hermetic orders, all the Christians, all of the Islam, all of everybody, even the Saturn people are it's all...
Yeah, that's what I was telling the guy at church. I'm like, the Saturn worship is one of the most bugged out things I've ever heard. However, it's just substituting Saturn for Satan.
Right.
And it's almost even the same word. It's not even like phonetically that different.
Not even that far off.
Yeah,
man.
It's not. I'm like, like his big deception is materialism and worldliness, right? The flesh, this life.
Anti-spirit.
Very anti-spirit. It's matter. All here. It's all carnal.
It's always matter versus spirit. That is the eternal battle. Matter versus spirit. Doesn't matter what.
Yeah. It's just, and so you have people that, speak against that, and fighting the matter, or not being ruled by the matter but being ruled by the spirit, or whatever it is. And then you got Jesus that says the same thing. If you store up your treasures here on earth, you will lose it in heaven. Store up your treasures where neither must rust nor moth destroy. It's all choose spirit. It's like, it's not that hard. It's not hard for me to believe that. And what I was telling the guy at church, I'm like, it's everybody believes this in some fashion or form.
If you believe the Big Bang, on some subconscious level, you might not even realize it, but you believe these things.
Yeah.
Because the Big Bang, it's like there's a saying I think it's directed towards like atheists, right? Give me one big miracle and I'll explain the rest with science. And that one miracle is the Big Bang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Science will explain every little thing, right? No problemo. Nothing is a miracle.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing is magic. It's all scientific. Just give me the one miracle.
Yeah.
The Big Bang miracle.
Yeah.
Which in my opinion is just a thought.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, at a certain point, you just have to believe it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with any religious, most religious people. It's like, yeah, we think it was also just one miracle. Mm-hmm. And then the rest is just natural happenings. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's no dude, when I was in the highway patrol, there's one guy, he always used to grill me. He's like, what about science though? I'm like, I believe in science. What about dinosaurs? I believe in dinosaurs. How? It's the Bible. What are you talking about, man? Like, I believe it's all there. I don't believe anything. I don't not believe anything you believe in.
The problem is the select few believe that the earth is 6,000 years old, and like the literal translations of a lot of things.
Yeah, like, to me, it's so inconsequential. Like, I don't care.
To me, it's all true, man. I'm not religious, but I believe almost every religion. You could preach to me almost any passage.
Because they're so close.
You could preach to me any passage out of any religion, and I could find a way to relate that to reality, or at least my reality.
That's what, there's this really famous pastor out in California, super old guy. He was talking to Ben Shapiro, and he was asking him, like, what's the difference between all the religions? And he's like, there's really not. It's not like what's the difference. He's like, only the big thing, because he's like, everything kind of has the same architecture.
Yeah, the same.
It's the same story, the creator versus the creation kind of thing, and the corruption, blah blah blah. The only real big difference is what they do with this guy named Jesus. That's it. Mm-hmm. all the, you know, the heroes and the archetypes and all that stuff. It's all the same. Saturn, Satan, the programmer, God. It's all the simulation, reality, and there's, you know, something else out there, or heaven. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
There's just one character in there that one religion does something with and all the other ones don't. That's it. So it's like, it's all, to me, bro, if you didn't tell me that Saturn is where the devil is residing, or that he's using it as sound waves, believe it, bro.
Yeah.
You're telling me that there's frequencies out there that are shaping everything, believe it, bro.
I mean, I used to question that. That's the thing. I used to laugh at these like new age people who would be like, everything's vibrations, bro. Your low vibrations, man. And I'd be like, dude.
I used to too, man. I used to be like, that is insane. And then somebody was like, but how do you believe, right? How do you believe? You believe the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. How do you believe that everything, what does the Bible say how everything was created?
He spoke.
Sound.
Yeah.
I was like, boom. Oh, and then I started like, oh man, hold on a second. If sound could shape the universe, and then means everything's got to be on that same, it's got to be like an echo of that frequency.
The Buddhists believe that the universe was created with the Om. The Om is the sound of the universe. That is the vibration of the universe.
Yeah, dude. See, I'm saying it's all close. Yeah. It's all like,
the
it's all the same family.
That Om was the universe.
Yeah, and they were tuning in with
Christians
it.
believe, or Catholics, anybody believe, or even I believe in Judaism, right? They believe the same thing. Yeah. God spoke the universe into existence.
Yeah, whatever that sounded like.
It's all vibrations.
It's all vibrations, man. And then I was like, oh, hold on. Maybe there's like something to words. Maybe there's something to names. And then it means, but then when you start looking at the shape of sound, maybe there's something to shapes.
Symbols.
And geometry.
Symbols, words, numbers, colors. Do you know there's colors related to frequencies as well?
Yeah, isn't that what with people who can hear sound and see a color, whatever that's called?
Yeah, but there is frequency. Every color has a frequency attributed to it.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's why you have infrared and ultraviolet frequencies, but they're
also sounds.
They're also colors, sounds, light, frequency. Yeah. So not only the symbol, but the color. That's why, you see like Satanist rituals. They always have dark, black and red on, because those are like certain vibrational frequencies. And
there's a theory out there that when man was first created, or before the fall, that they could see the full spectrum, not just visible light. They could see infrared,
which makes
ultraviolet,
sense, because remember,
you could see sound.
I was saying that the suppression is why we can't live to be 1,000 years old. We can't do the magic. We can't lift the 10,000 ton boulders to build the pyramids with our minds anymore. Why?
Or with sound. Or
sound,
whatever it is.
Because the suppression, because they have used the frequency suppression with symbols, numbers, words, colors, everything that controls our society, essentially.
Yeah.
Down to the shape of the buildings we live in, down to you name it, there's a frequency attached to it. Yeah. And these people have manipulated that to suppress our ability to do the things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it's even that malevolent or unintentional. I think that the innate corruption in mankind suppresses it. But over time, we seem, the DNA of man seems to always, and I mean mankind, always seems to push forward to that next breakthrough. Mm-hmm. It was like, no matter what happens, there's some catalyst that draws that information back out of us. It like reemerges. It's like if a guy takes steroids, gets real jacked, his DNA changes. Mm-hmm. If he loses all the weight, he can put it back on quicker than it took him to build it initially. Even if, so like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he can go from like 280 or whatever, 260 down to 160 and as long as it took him to get to 260, it'll take him half the time or quarter of the time to get back up there, because the information's there. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way that humans progress, it's exponential.
Right.
We discover something, and then the next thing's even faster.
So what
the
you're
next
saying
thing's
is
even
just
faster.
like a natural progression of these things.
Yeah.
So, like we're suppressing ourselves with these symbols and these frequencies without even really realizing.
And the more that we discover it, the quicker we get back to.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
This just pure.
I don't necessarily think that it's all natural, though. I think that there
yeah,
was an intervention at some point that started us on the track of frequency suppression.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and that might have been 100,000 years ago.
Dude. See, you do this, man. You do this stuff, bro.
What?
You say something, right? You say something, and then I'm like, hold on a second. Me and the guy at church, we had a nice long conversation. I'm like, dude, I have so much fun with this podcast because like the guy that I do the podcast with, he'll say something, right? And then I'll be like, oh, the Bible says that. And he's like, oh, it does? And I'm like, yeah. And then we'll go. And I'll be like, this is why I love reading the Bible. You said at some certain point, there was a suppression of sound.
There was an intervention.
Intervention
that initiated the suppression of frequency or vibration.
When they were building the Tower of Babel, it's Babel. When they're building the Tower of Babel, God said he wanted them to go across the whole earth. And there's some reasons for that. The earth was splitting apart and whatever. Whatever. I don't know if I believe in one continent or whatever. But anyway, for whatever reason, he wanted everyone to go across the whole earth. And they all spoke one language, whatever that was. It's not known to man right now. They're building this tower. And he's like, if I don't stop them, there's nothing they can't do. And it literally says, there is nothing they cannot accomplish. And he changed the languages. And they scattered. Just intervention of sound. You say some stuff, bro.
I'm telling you,
You say some wild stuff, bro.
Because it's all legit, bro.
Yeah, man.
You know, but it's so hard for people to put these things together because they get stuck in their own.
This is why I don't want to hear
box,
nobody
man.
hating on the Bible.
There's people that here's the problem, man, and this goes for especially today, man, especially with all the political bullshit going on. People get stuck in their own little boxes, man.
Yeah,
and
man.
if you don't fit in my box, if you say anything that's outside of my box, I'm unfollowing you, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Or I'm gonna keyboard warrior
If
you
you're
to
not
death,
with me,
man.
you're my enemy.
If you're not with me, you're my enemy.
I just say, okay, Anakin,